Okay, back, whether it's the same video or next video, next day, whatever, back on the Nissan after kind of lapping the valves, whatever you want to call them. This is what I come up with. I know the light's going to reflect off of it, but you can see how much better they look than they did last video or earlier today or whatever it is you're going to get. But and these are the exhaust valves. You can kind of see that gray at the bottom underneath the springs. I know some of it's a little harder to see. They may be a little bit dirty. So I cleaned the head afterwards, which was a mistake. You see that gray down there, how much better it looks. What's almost touching the green. That's where it seats. I cleaned the head after I did the valves, and that was stupid because the brush on the drill came across there and got one of them. I ended up having to redo it. Now, a couple of them I had to do more than once. That's not uncommon. Sometimes you even got to do it more than that. But this is a good time to check the guides. Actually, you should have checked that prior to doing this. I kind of looked at them. They seem fine. But if there's any excess movement, just put without the spring and stuff on there. You can do it with it, but it's better to do it without it. Take your spring and stuff off, slide the valve into your guide and pull it back just a little bit where it's not quite touching the seat, and then kind of shake it back and forth and see how much movement you have. If there's much movement at all, it means that the guides are wore out. And, so these are decent enough to do what I'm doing. Yeah. But just keep that in mind. Like I said, it kind of tells you whether it needs to be sent off the machine shop and have put new guides in it or whatever. Anyway, I've cleaned everything up as best it's going to get, and I'll put you back on tripod, which is not even remotely close to facing the right way. And I have, let's see what you're looking at. I know you can't see a whole lot with what I'm doing, but this is how it works. I went out this little bit ago, modified this. I don't know if it's enough. As you can see, I cut that old wrench off, and matter of fact, I didn't even take my grinder out there and clean that off. I may have to go back out and modify this. We're going to find out. I didn't want to get too carried away, but I may have to V this out just a little bit more. But this is that huge C-clamp. So I don't have the guides. I guess I didn't even think about this. I don't have the seats out. I got to clean this table off. I got to get the seats out of the valve stem seals. I got to get those out of the box and stuff. So I'm going to come back here in a minute, and we'll start putting these together again. This is what I consider kind of the inexpensive, cheap way, budget, whatever you want to call it, to kind of do this. If you're going to use a drill like you saw me do yesterday, understand you're doing it at your own risk. I have never had trouble with doing it that way, but you could see how it could get bad using a drill on something that's not really supposed to spin like that. But to me, if you're using that deal there, it takes so much more time, and it doesn't always stick to the bottom of the valve, and it can be kind of a pain. But anyway, when I come back, I'm going to try to put at least one of these together and show you what's going on. Okay, I did the one intake because I wanted to see if the tool was going to work. It ended up I just used the one, so I just went in from the side. I used that first one I modified. The one I won't do the middle, but I'll check that out. There's no sense in you guys watching me fight that if it don't work. If I got one done, I'm going to go ahead and do the exhaust on that same cylinder. And there's some things you got to remember to do, put on, like these little washers have to go to the bottom before you put the valve seal on. So make sure everything is cleaned up. And I just put a little bit of that assembly lube on here, and it will likely smoke when I start it. It may not even be on there, but I put just a little bit in there, just so when it goes up inside that guide, it's not going up in there dry. And everything is, you can't see what I'm doing here. It has a little bit of movement, and they will have a little, but they can't have excessive. But once you get that on there, it will try to slide out on you, even with some of that lube on there, but that's okay right now. And you take them washers, spacers, spring rotators, I don't know what the heck they call them, but there's one for the outer spring and there's one for that inner spring in this particular case. Put those on there first, and there is a difference between the intake and the exhaust side and that's almost on every engine. So keep that in mind too. The intakes are a lot lighter. These have to take a lot more heat and stress. The exhaust side does. They're usually a little beefier. And I also put just a dab inside that, not too much. Again, it's just so it'll slide over. I actually put it on the end of the stem, just so it slides over it and not hang up. And once you get to that point, you really need to drive that on there. And there's several ways of doing that. I'm using a 9/32 1/4-inch drive socket that says Taiwan on it. I don't even know who made it, but it happened to fit over the stem and still hit that real good. So are you looking at that? Sorta. It's really hard to see what I'm doing, but anyway, and you got to drive it on there and do it. I'm using a dead blow, but drive it on there, because if you just set it on there, that won't do you any good. Pull that back up. This is double spring. I specifically left these in an order that they're supposed to be left in. They said that this, I don't know why. I didn't think it made any difference, because if you turn the spring upside down, it looks kind of the same to me, but Nissan said these have to go a certain way, and it showed in the book how the coil was supposed to ride on the outer spring. So I don't really know, but I went ahead and did it. This is kind of the pain, is that this can't sit on the end, on its end, because of in this particular one, the distributor drive. And again, I don't know what you're going to be able to see and what you're not, because everything is in my way. Let me see. Are you looking at anything? No, not really. Well, it's still not perfect, but it's better than it was. All right, once you get to this point, make sure the valve's all the way up inside there, and use whatever proper tool. Like I said, I can do it from the end, but I couldn't do it from the... Can't do it from the side with this particular one, because it's just not enough. Make sure everything's lined up. I'm running off into the table so I can spin this thing proper. I'm already off a bit. I can already see it. Yep. Enough that it slipped off there. You gotta look in there, don't bind anything up. Because generally, if you're going to be taking these kind of heads apart, it's probably because it bent valves, because it broke a timing belt. Which, I'm not sure how hard these heads are to get a hold of, but I may pull them ones off at 92 and check them out, and possibly go ahead and buy new valves for it and redo both of them, and just either sell them or have them, you know, hanging around somewhere. Put your keepers in. Sometimes it's better to lube them up so they hang tight. This particular one is not, I don't have it quite enough for that one to go on yet. You'll know kind of when it goes, because it fit just like that. Now I know the other one's out a little bit, but just make sure it kind of goes into its location as it's coming up. It really doesn't have a choice, as long as the locks are good and the stem's not all wallered out. And what I mean by that is, if it's had excessive wear where the keeper hits, that can cause you some problems. They say not to do this. I usually do. I give it a couple little taps just to make sure those are seated good. That's really all there is to it. I hope you could see what I was doing. That in itself, though, is the same with taking it apart. It's kind of the same deal. Use a magnet. Once you compress it down, I showed you on the other video, let's use a magnet to pull those out. They're magnetic, you know, because they're all steel. They have to be. And what I was meaning by wallered out is where these keepers are. Just make sure that's a good sharp edge right here on the top side, because that's, you know, that's where that keeper's stopping that spring from going up. So make sure it's good. If it's wallered out in 45 like this is, those keepers may not hold very long. So hopefully you can see what I was looking at. But anyway, if there's any particular question or any particular thing that you want to see, message me, and I will either try to get into more depth, or try to show you or find you a place to go look, or I possibly have an old head laying around here somewhere that I could give you more detailed, you know, look into whatever it is. This particular engine may not be the one that you guys do. I did one on the 4.8 where I took it apart, put new seals in there, and then put it back together. I did no valve grinding on it because everything looked really, really good on that LS motor. But in this particular case, I was really surprised at how bad these looked, and kind of shocked, to be honest with you. I didn't expect that, and I don't know if something ran through the system, or whether it's the nature of these particular engines being aluminum head. Maybe the seats aren't as good. Maybe they're really hard and they cause the damage to both. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe it got hot once upon a time. You know, I don't even know the real reason why the engine was rebuilt in the past, because these are pretty reliable. So my guess would be they broke a timing belt and they just took it to Nissan, had it fixed, or bought a Nissan certified remanufactured engine. I'm not sure. Or it blew a head gasket one upon a time, they got hot. And they may have done something to the heads, they may not have done something. I don't know. I don't know anything about the history of this particular vehicle. Actually, I don't know the history of either one of them, you know, that much. But anyway, so this is how it works. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest myself, and then off camera, because you kind of see how it works. It works that way all the way across the board, intake, exhaust. It's the same setup. They both have the little washers, base washers. I think it's so the springs can turn, because if you ever watch as the engine's running, they kind of do move. I don't know if it's kind of like a wear ring, you know, for the spring to ride on the aluminum, so that the aluminum's not getting wore out. Because I don't know. You know, I really don't know what they're for. I noticed a big block Chevy has them too, so I don't remember seeing them on a small block. I don't remember the LS having them, but they may have. I just don't remember. But because it's been over a year since I did those heads. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get off here. Next time you see it, these heads will both be done. If I see anything on the other head that is different or surprises me, I'll bring you back on that other head. But these have oil lubes holes here for the cam. Since I put it in diesel to kind of clean it out, I did not use brake cleaner on it, because I didn't want to take every bit of, you know, lube off of these. I'm going to go ahead and drip some oil on here, try to let it run down, spin it around, and just try to do kind of like a half pre-lube on it. And then before I put this together, I'll probably bring you back as I'm putting the lifters and stuff on there, and I'm going to go ahead and put the, you know, obviously the assembly lube on every one of these, you know, on the cam. So because this is not a roller cam on these are still flat tappet. So, all right, see you next time.